तस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं
तस्मै
तस्मै
श्रीगुरवे
श्रीगुरवे
नमः।
नमः. I was born in the darkest ignorance. Spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances and today. Nama Om
ॐ
Vishnupreshthaya Bhutale
विष्णुपरमेश्वराय
Srimate
श्रीमते
Bhakti Vedanta
भक्तिवेदान्त
Swami
स्वामिनिधि
Namine
नामिने
Namaste
नमस्ते
Saraswate
सरस्वती
Deve Gauramani
गौरवाणी
Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, I will share my screen. So, last paragraph we will revisit. On January 30th, the day after he had drafted a new constitution for the Congress party, Gandhi took his evening meal, worked at his spinning wheel, then walked toward his evening prayer meeting and was shot 3 times in the chest. He died crying out the name of God, Hey Ram. Abhay's letter of previous month suddenly read like a prophecy, but it had not been read by the person for whom it had been intended. So Mahatma Gandhi never replied to his letter, so probably he didn't read it or something. When the directors of Mahatma Gandhi Memorial National Fund invited suggestions on how to commemorate Gandhi's life and work, Abhay wrote to them and simultaneously to Vallabhbhai Patel, India's Deputy Prime Minister, proposing the Gandhian way to use the funds. Gandhi's whole life was dedicated to the service of humanity at large, with special interest for raising the moral standard. His later activities showed that he was equal to everyone, and all the people of the world knew him more as a spiritual leader than a mere politician. Devotion to Godhead was his ultimate aim, and when I say that his sacred memory should be perpetrated not in an ordinary way but in Gandhian way, I mean that fitting respects to his memory will be done in following manner. Abhay wrote of a Mahatma Gandhi rarely described. Gandhi as a Vaishnava. Despite his pressing political activities, Gandhi had never missed his daily prayer meetings in the evenings. Even at the time of his assassination, he had been on his way to attend his daily kirtan. Abhay stressed that it was because of Gandhi's regular participation in congregational prayer that he had been strong in his work to raise the moral standard of humanity. Gandhiji, minus his spiritual activities, Abhay wrote, is an ordinary politician, but actually he was a saint amongst the statesmen. Abhay wrote that it had been Lord Chaitanya who had originated the congregational chanting of the names of Krishna and Rama. And his followers, the six Goswamis, had left a wealth of literature for discussion and understanding. The Memorial Fund Board should take this lesson from Mahatma Ji's practical life and develop it on a large scale. Therefore, one fitting memorial to Mahatma Gandhi would be to institute daily congregational readings from Bhagavad Gita. When people's spiritual instincts were kindled by daily prayer meetings, then they would develop the highest qualities in their character. Abhay had a second suggestion. Gandhi was known for his attempts to enable the lower classes to enter the temples, and in Noakhali, he had installed the deity of Radha and Krishna for the ordinary men to worship. Although this was generally taken as a side issue of Gandhi's work, Abhay took it as the essence that Gandhi's was a theistic movement. Abhay explained that although there were hundreds and thousands of temples in India, they were not being properly managed, and therefore educated citizens were neglecting them. In the original Vedic culture, the purpose of the temples had been to nurture spiritual culture. If the temples of India could be reorganized as vital spiritual centers, then the disturbed minds of the day could be trained for life's higher duties. Such education and practice, Abhay wrote, can help men in realizing the existence of God, without whose sanctions, according to Mahatma Gandhi, not a blade of grass moves. So today we saw a YouTube video where Narendra Modi, who is the Prime Minister of India, he is actually talking about, how ISKCON is doing a very wonderful work, and how they are renovating the old temples. And he is saying that ISKCON should ask their devotees to visit such temples also, so that these temples will be known to the world. So this was Prabhupada's dream, that now it is getting completed after so many years of his passing away. So some spiritual leader who is spiritually oriented, he is taking up that work now. And that is really in benefit of the humanity, because for so many coming years, many generations will be benefited by this work. Because when ancient temples are being renovated, they had very different kind of potency into them, because they are ancient time temples where people had very great values. So nowadays the values are degrading like anything. So for this generation, such temples, renovating such temples will be definitely spiritually beneficial. So such a nice work is being done. He also referred to Gandhi's Harijan movement, which most people saw as Gandhi's humanitarian effort to grant equal rights to untouchables, whom Gandhi had recognized as Harijan, people of God. Abhay stressed that this was also an essentially spiritual aspect of Gandhi's life. But rather than simply rubber stamping an untouchable as Harijan, Abhay argued that there must be a systematic program for elevating people of lower classes. This program was taught in the Bhagavad Gita and could best be applied under the guidance of a bona fide devotee of the Lord. Abhay volunteered to take up the work on behalf of Memorial Board. If the board is attempting to commemorate Gandhi's efforts and accomplishments, neglected the essential spiritual aspects of Gandhi's life, Abhay warned, his memory will soon be dead, as has been the lot of other politicians. Perhaps they saw Abhay as another opportunist seeking money or as a sectarian religionist. But Abhay saw himself as a lowly servant of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Seeing certain Vaishnava qualities in the character of Mahatma Gandhi, Abhay took the opportunity to introduce his spiritual master's message to the world. And by so doing, he paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi, praising him as a great devotee interested in kirtan, temple worship, and elevating unfortunates to become people of God. So this was really very great intelligence of Srila Prabhupada, that he used to convey the philosophy of Krishna consciousness by all means. And even it won't feel like, he's preaching or something. So he didn't have any agenda or something, because he really knew that this will be in real benefit of the people, because he spoke always from the Shastra. And Prahlad Maharaj has said that people don't know that their real self-interest is in Lord Vishnu. Nate vidhu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. This Prahlad Maharaj has said, right? So Prabhupada wants everybody to give that benefit, that he is actually directing people toward Vishnu by some or the other means, not by crooked means, but humbly and gently trying for such things. So he is seeing Vaishnava qualities in Gandhiji, and then he is admiring those qualities, and through that he is also trying to propagate Krishna consciousness. And he also said that I will take the responsibility of discussing Bhagavad Gita, or raising the consciousness of these low born people, whom Gandhiji called Harijan. So like little aid to Gandhiji's efforts. That's what Prabhupada wanted to say. And this was very genuine. So he on his mind always it was going on, that how can I spread the message of my Guru Maharaj? How can I spread the message of his Guru Maharaj was actually message of Krishna. It's not that he is making a group of his Guru Maharaj or something. He is actually propagating the message of Lord Krishna. So that was the most important aspect of his writing these letters or talking to people or writing into magazines, this Back to Godhead, all those things, right? So, while on business in Madurai, in South India, Abhay showed some of his writings to Muthuswami Chetty, another medical salesman. Mr. Chetty was impressed and felt he could persuade his wealthy friend, Dr. Alagappa, the famous Birla of the South, to finance the printing. So, Abhay wanted to write more, but what was the problem? That he did not have sufficient money to buy the paper and everything. So he needed somebody to sponsor it. So that's why he was approaching different various businessmen or something so that he can get some money for printing. So this person, Muthuswami Chetty, said that I will talk to my friend Dr. Alagappa for financing the printing. In April of 1948, Mr. Chetty wrote to Abhay saying that he had been prompted to help Abhay for something God has meant. He asked Abhay Charan to send him complete Gita-Upanishad manuscript so that he could present it to Dr. Alagappa in Madras. Mr. Chetty had already written Dr. Alagappa about the first class work Gita-Upanishad to cover 1200 pages of royal size and had urged him to publish it for the benefit of religious minded people. He had also mentioned that Abhay had been trying to publish the book since 1946. Dr. Alagappa soon replied to Mr. Chetty that he was interested, and Mr. Chetty wrote to Abhay, "So I am on my way to help you, and only God must help me." As for talking business with Dr. Alagappa, there would be no need, since once he does it, it is for the sake of benevolence. Anticipating success, Mr. Chetty invited Abhay to come to Madras to see Dr. Alagappa. There he will arrange for what God has meant for you to do in your religious duty. In Madras, Abhay would be able to check and correct the proofs of manuscript and see the book through the various stages of printing. It was big opportunity, and Abhay was not one to miss an opportunity. If the book could be published, it would be a great victory in his mission to fulfill the request of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. But then the worst thing happened. The manuscript was stolen. It was the only copy, the one Abhay was keeping safely at home. He questioned his family and servants. No one knew what had happened. Abhay was baffled. So much work had been undone. He felt he had worked so many months for nothing. Although he couldn't prove anything, he suspected that his servant or even his son might have done it with a motive for raising money, but it remained a mystery. Very, very sad. Like he was trying for so many years, and now this opportunity had come. And even from inside home, the manuscript was stolen. We can imagine like how much struggle Srila Prabhupada has gone through just to give us these temples and this ISKCON. So we need to be very, very sincere in our efforts, whatever we do. During 1949, Abhay wrote articles in Bengali and submitted them to his brother BP Keshav Maharaj, who published them in his Gaudiya Patrika. Abhay's format for addressing world problems was the same as his spiritual masters. Even at the first meeting in 1922, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had countered Abhay's nationalistic arguments by stressing that the real crisis in the world was neither social nor political, nor anything material, but was simply the dearth of transcendental knowledge. Even now, we can feel that only if people will cultivate transcendental knowledge, everything will fall in its place. But a lot of anxiety and restlessness is only because of this, that people do not want to cultivate transcendental knowledge. They are making a choice. Abhay simply elaborated on this theme. He never advocated that the ordinary concerns of the world be disregarded. So, Srila Prabhupada is not saying that don't work or don't do a job or don't make new inventions. He's not saying that. He's saying that turn the switch to Krishna consciousness, means become Krishna conscious, use everything in service to Krishna, whatever you are innovating. Right? So that's how the God consciousness will be maintained. People will be in general of good quality, means they will have good values, so that the exchanges among each other will be really nice. And overall, this society will be very nice. and spiritually advanced. And slowly, the people will, get to their destinations. Once they leave the body, they will go to the spiritual world. So that was his thought. He was not like he was not saying that ordinary concerns of world be disregarded, but he stressed that crisis can be solved only when the leadership is God conscious. If Krishna consciousness were put first, other concerns could be brought into line. See, very important point. If Krishna consciousness were put first, other concerns would be brought into line, but without Krishna consciousness, so-called solutions were only folly. Abhay began his first Bengali article by quoting an editorial from Allahabad edition of the Calcutta newspaper Amrit Bazar. The editor had sorely lamented that India's worst troubles had not yet ended, despite national independence. The National Week has begun. The memories of Jallianwala Bagh and political serfdom no longer trouble us. But our trouble is far from being at an end. In the dispensation of providence, mankind cannot have any rest. If one kind of trouble goes, another quickly follows. India, politically free, is faced with difficulties no less serious than those that troubled us under a foreign rule. Abhay seized on this editorial reflection as proof of the basic defect of all worldly plans for amelioration. He pointed out that although India had been subjugated by foreign rulers since the time of Muhammad Ghori, AD 1050, India prior to that had never been subjugated. Okay. In those days, India had been a God conscious nation. It was when India's leader had abandoned their spiritual heritage that India had fallen. Right? The fall down happens when we leave aside our spiritual values and do not practice properly. Thus, Indians should see that they were now being punished by the stringent laws of material nature. So, people might think that, okay, I don't do any spiritual practice like other people, so nothing is happening. But actually, they are at a very big loss, right? Something is happening, but they are not understanding. If they will take up spiritual practices seriously, then they will be able to make the difference. Oh, this is what was happening, and now that is not happening. So, I am advancing. But if they will not do anything, then loss is happening, something is happening, like lamentation is happening, restlessness is there, anxiety is there, but they are not understanding that it is because of lack of spirituality, right? The honorable editor of Amrit Bazar Patrika, Abhay wrote, has written so sadly, if one trouble goes, another quickly follows. But that was stated in Bhagavad Gita a long time previously. It was the same theme he had stated in his 1944 Back to Godhead articles and the theme of so many of his letters also. Man, due to his neglect of the Supreme Lord, is being punished by material nature. See, if somebody neglects the Supreme Lord, he gets punished by the material nature. Okay, so sadhana is very, very important, which is directly controlled by the Supreme Lord. Men may write newspaper article, pass measures at meetings and conferences, and attempt to overcome nature by scientific research. Yet they will remain unable to surmount nature's law. As they try to escape their punishments, the Supreme Lord will cast them deeper into illusion and they will fail miserably. Abhay quoted an appropriate Bengali saying, I was trying to make a statue of Shiva, but I ended up making a monkey. Right? So we plan so many things, but because of lack of spirituality, our plans always keep failing. In order to rid the world of misery and bring about happiness, we have now created the atomic bomb. Seeing the all pervading destruction which could take place in the near future by atomic reactions, Western thinkers have become greatly disturbed. Some people try to give consolation, saying that we will only use this atomic energy to bring about happiness in the world. This is also another enigma of illusory potency. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Okay, it is ending. So we will end with this section. The problem, Abhay explained, was that the world was lacking Krishna conscious devotees. Leaders under the influence of material nature could never solve the problems of world. Materialistic illusion was specially prevalent in Western countries, which Indians should try not to imitate. But opposite is happening. Indians are so much imitating Western culture. and they are leaving aside their own culture, spiritual culture. So they are materially advancing, like technology and IT, computer, all these things, but at the same time values are being degraded. So people do not maintain altars in their home, they do not worship the deities, and they don't behave like brahmanas even though born in brahmana families. So this all degradation is happening, which will actually bring the Hindus to doom if this continues like that. Abhay prophesied, however, that Krishna consciousness would one day reach the West. In the Western countries, there has never been any discussion on the relation between atomic individual soul and the supreme complete conscious personality of Godhead. Neither their activities nor their state in ultimate perfection has been investigated. That is why, even though they have made so much material advancement, they are squirming in the burning poison of sensualism. We can be absolutely certain that India's real peace formula will one day reach their ears. Abhay's articles began appearing regularly in Gaudiya Patrika. His god brothers appreciated his writings. His denunciation of materialistic mentality was reminiscent of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's. In Abhay's hands, the Bhagavad Gita's concept of Asura, demon, was no longer merely a depiction of mythological or legendary enemy. The Asuras had come to life in the modern day Hitler, Churchill, or even an Indian Prime Minister. But as Abhay pointed out, his denunciation of misleaders was not his own. He was only repeating the words of Krishna. So, if we see the chapter 7, Krishna has said that mudhas do not surrender unto him, right? So, they are all demons who do not surrender to Krishna. And modern day leaders are, many of them are like that. Okay. So, yes, here we will stop and we will start next week from this paragraph. Okay, so what is our takeaway today? What did we learn?
Oh, learn, read the books, Madhuri.
Yeah, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, yes, and doing a good sadhana, right? Chanting properly, hearing Bhagavatam every day.
Yeah, maybe they will.
Yes, that will automatically raise our consciousness. We don't have to do any other extra efforts. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you very much, Dayaram, for joining. And
Yeah, Rapa.
next
See you,
week.
Rapa, Madhuri. I'll
Hare Krishna.
see you tomorrow.
Yeah, on chanting. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.